war between Russia and Ukraine, which began in February 2022, has not only reshaped geopolitical dynamics, but has also inflicted profound psychological trauma on individuals and communities. From a clinical psychology perspective, the ongoing violence and displacement have created a widespread mental health crisis with long term implications for millions affected by the conflict. The immediate psychological effects of the war are evident in the acute stress reactions experienced by those living in conflict zones. Survivors of bombings, forced displacement, and the loss of loved ones often exhibit symptoms of post traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, depression, and anxiety. For children, the war poses a significant developmental risk, as exposure to violence and instability can impair emotional regulation, cognitive development, and attachment patterns. Prolonged exposure to such stressors increases the likelihood of complex trauma, which can persist long after the physical threats have subsided. Displacement has also created unique challenges for millions of Ukrainian refugees. Uprooted from their homes, these individuals face the dual burden of processing the trauma of war while adapting to new and often unfamiliar environments. Feelings of grief, loss, and identity confusion are common, compounded by language barriers, unemployment, and social isolation in host countries. Mental health professionals working with displaced populations often highlight the importance of culturally sensitive interventions, as well as community-based approaches that emphasize resilience and social support. For those remaining in Ukraine, chronic stress due to the unpredictability of the conflict and economic instability continues to take a toll. The war has strained mental health services within the country, making access to care limited at a time when it is most needed. Teletherapy and international collaborations have helped bridge some gaps, but the demand far exceeds available resources. On a broader scale, the psychological ramifications of this war extend beyond Ukraine. For Russian citizens opposed to the conflict, feelings of guilt, helplessness, and fear of repression are widespread. Additionally, soldiers on both sides of the conflict face an elevated risk of moral injury and combat-related trauma, which, if left untreated, can lead to chronic mental health issues, substance abuse, and difficulty reintegrating into civilian life. From a clinical perspective, this war underscores the critical need for integrating mental health care into humanitarian responses. Addressing trauma at both the individual and collective levels is essential for healing and rebuilding. For psychologists, the conflict also presents an ethical imperative to advocate for peace, provide culturally attuned care, and work toward understanding the psychological mechanisms that contribute to cycles of violence and recovery. The psychological scars of this war will linger for generations, making mental health support a cornerstone of long-term recovery for Ukraine and its people.